You mentioned the accident there a few times. Are you able to go into what the accident actually was? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, sadly. So everybody thinks young drivers, you must have been messing about, you dickhead. You know, first time behind wheel, and it wasn't that. I was, my friend had just passed his driving test, so he was a new driver. But it gave us like that sense of freedom. You could go to McDonald's for lunch. I'd get out at 6:40. You didn't have to just go to the local chippy. And this girl wanted to lift home. She lived in the next village, so we're taking it. It was a bit of a crap, wet day. Dropped her off. I had a cup of tea, and we were coming back just down a country road, and we were actually doing 50 mile an hour. So the speed limit was 60. We weren't messing about, weren't doing anything wrong, just driving along. And we came across a situation you'd come across every day. You know, like a car waiting at this side of the road, waiting to pull across. We thought we were just going to go straight past him. And he just decided to pull in. So we smashed into him and then smashed into a tree, doing 50 mile an hour. And we'd probably been better smashing into him, really.
Just straight on.
Yeah, but sadly that would have probably killed his wife. And anyway, we hit a tree. There was two people in the back, and then I was the front seat passenger. Driver got out, came round, and I was just being strangled. Seatbelts right across my neck. It was there was blood just dripping down my face. It turns out I had a tiny little cut on top of my head, but it was it just dripping, and it felt like the engine was on my lap. I'll have to get you a picture of the car. I'll send you it, you know, if you want to put it over, because it's
we will.
When you see it, you'll be, but I could look down, so I was stuck in like that position, and I could just see this hand, and my head's telling this hand to move, but I couldn't move it. It was like making this weird movement, and I thought, oh, I've broke my arm. I've never broken a bone before, so I've half my arm. First thought, Eric Cantona played with a pot in his hand, didn't he? Honestly, that was my first thought.
At least I can still play football.
I can still play football. Got airlifted. I remember taking off. Got airlifted to Hull Royal, which is by car an hour away. And they opened me up that night and put metalwork in the front. So I broke C4, 5 and 6, which is here.
Okay.
So they opened me up there and put metalwork in. So that was the first operation. But they gave me like 5% chance of using my arms and legs again.
What was the initial feeling like when you heard that for the first time?
I can't remember it, to be honest. Yeah. I remember a little bit of it was called Dr. O'Brien, and he came because I was 17. So my parents were having to sign everything. They couldn't actually do it without their say. And I remember him coming and doing a drawing next to me. And I remember him saying that this one was so close to my voice box. So it's called it voice box.
Yeah.
That I might need one of those machines. Oh, you see people talking.
Yes, yeah.
One of them. It was like millimeters away from
the larynx something.
Is that what it is?
Some one of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
I get what it's called.
So it was going to be close to that. So that's what I remember, and I don't remember anything else. I remember waking up. My mum, bless her, I just turned around and I didn't turn around. I couldn't move. First thing I said was, "I want to go to the toilet." So I had a catheter in and all stuff like that. I didn't know what a catheter was.
Yeah.
Oh, so much shoved up there. It's like, so yeah, that was it. That was first thing. But then I had another operation 3 weeks later where they took bone from my hip and opened me up at the back and did the same at the back. But that one, they didn't give me enough drugs. So I woke up in the recovery room with a clamp still on my head and all the tubes down my throat, which still not haunts me when I go to the dentist. It's the one thing I still struggle with, dentists. So when they're in my mouth, you can't stand it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'd be exactly the same.
I always have to say to the dentist, like, listen, I explain what happened to me. I says, I get anxious about this. I'm a bit of a nightmare. So because I usually tell them that my dentist is really good with me because they get it.
Yeah.
And they know that I'm a bit fidgety and tongues all over.
That's it. Well, I mean, it's not a surprise, really. I mean, if it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, I don't want anything to do with this now.
Yeah. It puts me in that thing again for some reason, and it's like, I don't like it.
So after the accident happened and you'd had these operations, what did life look like for a little bit?
So I spent 4 weeks in Hull, and then they transferred me to Pinderfield's spinal unit in Wakefield. They took me on a trolley, and I'm looking around because again I was laid flat, still couldn't move, doing nothing, no more movement. Looking around, I was like, everybody was in wheelchairs. I've not seen anybody really in a wheelchair. It's old people in wheelchairs. I've seen younger people in wheelchairs. I was like, shit. And my mum in Hull never went home. She stayed in the hospital. She never went home for a month. And I had to say to him, you've got to start getting on with your life. I've got to grow up quite quickly here. So that's what it looked like. I was like, shit, reality's kicked in now. It's time to get better. But somebody told me this the other day. They said, oh, you must have been really mentally strong. I think there must have been a bit of that. But also, I believe, I was 17, I was cocky. I think that's what got me through. So when doctors are saying, listen, you're probably not going to walk again. I generally do a bit. It was a bit. I told my football manager I'd be back on pitch by Christmas.
Just straight.
That's when I didn't realise the severity of what had gone on. And I was very high on drugs at the time. I thought I'd be back on the pitch by Christmas, but it was like, hey, I've got to grow up pretty quick here.
Yeah, I bet that was maybe not humbling is probably not the correct word, but a time in life where you went from being a kid to an adult very, very quickly.
Yeah. I thought I did, but actually looking back, I was a little boy.
No.
But you do that and you take the accident away. You guys yourself, when you're 18, all of a sudden with a big man out, we're 17. That's it. Yeah. It's a little bollocks really, innit?
Yeah.
We're little boys, aren't we?
Yeah.
We just like to think we are. So in my head, I think, I did grow up because I dealt with it. Kind of, I had to get on with it. But when I do actually look back, I was like, little boy.
I know what you mean, actually. Sometimes I think, do you know, like in America, you're not an adult until you're 21.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, in England, people drink from when they're like 14, but sometimes I kind of get the American approach. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm 22 now, and I only just feel like I'm starting to like properly become an adult and be a bit more like responsible.
Me then.
Yeah.
I probably didn't start feeling mid-30s. But I think that's because I was probably early 30s. When I look back, I was severely depressed for a lot of those years, so I think that's why I didn't. So then you're suffering.
That's it. Yeah. And then you can get to the point where then clarity kicks in. It might be a bit later in life or a bit earlier in life, but as long as you get to that point, it doesn't matter.
I definitely feel that now because I think, I'm getting old. That's it. No. Flying.
The reality kicks in.
After the accident, when did you start like making progress? Obviously, you were in the hospital. They said, well, you're seeing these people in wheelchairs and stuff. What was the progression like from that point?
I got a bit of movement in leg, I think. In the middle of the night, I dare go back to sleep. Move my leg. Shit, what's going on? I dare go back to sleep. I kept it from everybody, and it was actually the driver of the accident, who I'm still friends with. He came to visit me, and my mum and that was there, I think, and I've got something to show you. I moved it, and there was just tears and stuff like that. But before that, they'd actually tried to sit me up in a wheelchair, and I was just spewing everywhere because I'd been laid flat for 6 weeks. So it was horrible. But that little bit of movement back, it kind of spurred some on to go, come on, and let's see what I can do. Listen, I work my ass off. I got a bit of luck as well because there's a lot of people, when you walk and you should be right. You saw how I walked in, I walk with a limp, can't use this hand. There's still the effects of a spinal cord injury, bowels and bladder. I know when I need to go, but there's no control. There's a lot of other stuff, but people go, you're walking, you're all right.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not, that's the thing, it's not always what you see at surface level, is it?
No.
You don't, people just presume.
On underneath that I've had to deal with every day. So it's, it was just funny just getting that movement back, I remember, and just, I got to sleep. And I must have been really, I had this little bit of facial hair there, and all that I wouldn't shave off because I was like, it's good. I shave it off now. It looked terrible.
You just kept it for years.
Yeah, well, I kept it for a while, because I was like, I can't shave it off, and I was when I was in hospital. I was a vain kid. I still am vain, to be honest. The first thing I said to my wife, I like looking at myself in the mirror. I got the nurses to shave my hair off because I couldn't do my own hair because I couldn't move my hands, and I'd lost all my weight. So when I had my accident, I was same size as my dad. I was 5'8", about 11 stone, something like that. I was all right. I was never big, but I was all right.
Yeah.
When they first stood me up, I was 6 foot. Depends who you ask. I'm 6 foot. I'm a good leg. My friends definitely don't say I'm 6. I dropped down to 7 stone.
That's a massive difference. Yeah.
So what's that? So like, over a third of your body weight, pretty much. Yeah, that's
it's like going for a shit out your ass. You know,
so, and I suppose so. We saying between the time that you had the accident and the recovery, you'd grown in height as well.
When they first took me up, I'd obviously puberty.
He's going through that time. Yeah. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
So then that must have been. Well, I mean, the whole situation was obviously very surreal, but all these extra things that you don't consider, like...
I think, 17... Well, I had my 18th, so they let me home. My first weekend home was my 18th birthday.
Hey.
My 18th, so the accident was 16th, 17th of September. I always get the date. I think I always say 16th, and my sister always pulls me up on it. My birthday's end of November 29th. They let me home for my first weekend on that November. But I wasn't ready to go home. I'd never been in a car before. Do you know what I mean? They fast-tracked it for me. And I was only allowed to do certain things when I was at home, which I completely ignored. I managed to get upstairs first weekend. I was...
Was that the little cocky side in you going, they told me I can't, but I bloody can?
Yeah, and I think
I think also it's kind of like, would you say it's like not wanting to accept the fact that they're saying this, and you kind of in the back of your mind you're going, come on.
There's probably something in that.
Yeah,
because the attitude I had was like, you'll leave hospital with a wheelchair, and you'll need a wheelchair for long distance, and you'll need walking aids. And I was like, no chance, no chance. What's this kind of thing? It was that. It was. They got really used to it. It's weird because you know how you think of a hospital. Inderfield didn't like that. It's like family. Which sounds really weird, but I was only there for rehab, so the nurses become my mates. You know, the medication I was on, I was self-medicating because they just come and go, right, Allan, there's your medication for a week. I'm on a wing, so because I couldn't dress myself, you know, I didn't need care, so I was only there for rehab. Like, it was that good because I was on a wing with. It was like not the better ones, the ones that were looking after themselves were on this balcony kind of thing. And they wouldn't turn the lights off the balcony because they knew I'd be moody in the morning. And then they'd wait and they'd just leave me a cup of tea. At the time, I didn't like coffee, so they'd just leave me a cup of tea and bring me bacon butty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I look back, it was brilliant. As much as it's horrible, but it was actually brilliant.
I think people in places like that can make all the difference, can't they? Like when there's people that are going to be stuck in there for months and for a long time like you were, it's the people working that...
Yeah, and it's all the other... You encourage each other, these people there, and it's like I was the pizza boy. So the food was crap. So if it was every Wednesday, I'd go around. We'd order pizzas and I'd be the one that'd go around collecting the money because I could walk. And I'd go around collecting because once they, like the people that were in chairs were in bed, they were stuck in bed then. I think at that time I was the only walker on the ward. That's why my story is different now. There's a lot more spinal cord injury walkers, but back then I was seen as the miracle. People didn't really walk off a spinal ward. They do now, thankfully. And these people that are doing what I do, but more advanced than what I do now. Do you know, like getting up mountains and all that kind of stuff, which I love because it's like, go on, go smash it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
I think another thing that people don't consider when it comes to, you know, the hospitals and the NHS as a whole and all this stuff is in recent years where there's obviously been massive flaws in the NHS and people, obviously we've given a lot of support to the NHS, but there's also been an influx of, they're not doing anything, this, that and the other. And I think it's such a toxic mindset to have because it's not the people within the NHS that are the issue. So to blame them is just ridiculous.
The nurses, they're understaffed, underpaid, and the stuff they do, and look back, like for me, just little things like when I couldn't move, I was having to have male and female nurses bath me at the age of 17, you know, naked. Then that's as horrible as that, that's a bit of a dark place I take myself sometimes to go. You know, when something embarrassing, you know, like if you got to do karaoke because I can't sing, take myself back to that place because it can't be as bad as that.
One of those little things in life now that seems like a big issue, but in reality, there's been much bigger ones.
So nurses are having to do stuff like that, I was having an enema shoved up my ass every morning, then letting myself shit the bed, and then they clean it up. It's like they're getting paid shit to do that.
Shit. And for you to have a first-hand experience is
I think these people deserve. I couldn't have got through without them.
No, not at all. No,
they deserve the world. They certainly deserve more than the clap that they got throughout COVID. Like,
and then the government now are taking them to court and all that. And I'm like, my God.